I love watching documentary films, and I also enjoy making them. It's my preferred type of film to make when making films. Unfortunately, however, documentaries often get overshadowed by narrative fiction films. So today I want to recommend 5 documentaries that I think everyone should see. All of the films I'm sharing today have inspired me as a documentary filmmaker, and in my opinion are worth checking out, even if you don't normally watch documentaries. The first documentary I'm going to recommend is an experimental non-narrative documentary from 1982 called Koyaanisqatsi, directed by Godfrey Reggio. Koyaanisqatsi, as a word, means life out of balance, and this is definitely relevant to the content of the documentary. Koyaanisqatsi is a film which explores humanity's impact on Earth, specifically showing late 20th century industrialization juxtaposed against the natural world. The film starts off by showing us cave paintings that are located in Utah, showing us some of the earliest ways humans created a mark on the earth. From here, the film shows us many vistas in the desert and other gorgeous shots of nature. The film then segues into shots of industrialization and human society in general, often utilizing time-lapse cinematography. Koyaanisqatsi is a film which has no real true meaning. Instead, it is up to the viewer to create their own meaning based on what the film shows us. Koyaanisqatsi is one of my favorite films because of this. The fact that it's up for so much interpretation means that you can gather new meanings from the film every time you watch it. Additionally, the film itself is just gorgeous. Cinematographer Ron Fricka manages to make every shot beautiful, and is clearly a master of time-lapse cinematography. This film has captured some of the best-looking time-lapse cinematography ever put to film. The way light is captured in these shots, as well as how the camera moves in some of the time-lapse shots, is just breathtaking, and makes me think that an immense amount of planning went into a lot of these shots. The way this film is edited is also notable. It's mostly edited to Philip Glass's score, which also happens to be one of my favorite film scores of all time. Overall, this film has no weak link, and if you watch any film from this list, I highly recommend it be this one. Koyaanisqatsi is available to stream for free on YouTube. The second documentary I'm going to recommend is Minding the Gap, a documentary released in 2018 directed by Bing Liu. The film follows 3 young men and their experiences growing up in the Rust Belt, specifically in Rockford, Illinois. Over the course of the film, you see how each of these men deal with reaching adulthood and figuring out for themselves what manhood means to them. The film is told from the perspective of Bing, who often includes his voice from behind the camera. The film follows 3 main characters, Kiera Johnson, Zach Mulligan, and Bing Liu, at pivotal points in their lives. Zach has just had a newborn baby, and in the film is shown struggling to become an adequate father and partner to his girlfriend. Kiera is soon to be 18, and is shown in the film attempting to come to terms with the abuse he received from his late father, while also figuring out what he wants to do with his life. Bing is still grappling with the abuse he, his mother, and his half-brother faced at the hands of his stepfather, hoping to get closure through the process of making the film. All 3 men are passionate about skateboarding, and use skateboarding as a means of escape from their problems and as a way to connect with others. The film masterfully interweaves observational-style cinematography, choreographed skateboarding videos shot by Liu, and footage of Liu interviewing Kiera, Zach, and Liu's own family. The film showcases how abuse is often perpetuated in lower-income communities, and that it's up to the individual to break the chain of abuse and rise above their past. Minding the Gap is a powerful documentary, and while sometimes dark, it is also full of inspiration, and is a great example of how the human spirit can persevere in awful situations. Minding the Gap is available to stream on Hulu. The third documentary I'm going to recommend is F for Fake, a 1973 documentary directed by Orson Welles. F for Fake was the final film Orson Welles released before his death in 1985, and in my opinion, it's a strong film to go out on. F for Fake is a hybrid documentary, meaning it makes use of fictional aspects such as reenactments and scripted scenes. Hybrid documentaries are my favorite documentaries, and F for Fake is my favorite hybrid documentary. F for Fake is primarily about art forgery Almir Dehori. The film is edited at a breakneck speed and moves around from one idea to the next quite fast oftentimes. The film is something of a visual essay, somewhat similar to the modern-day video essay. Almir is shown in the film to have fooled so many so-called art experts with his forgeries, and this ties back to one of the documentary's core questions, that being, what gives art value or authenticity? The film isn't just about Almir, however. It also focuses on Clifford Irving, Almir's biographer, who also ironically forged a Howard Hughes autobiography. Additionally, Welles reflects on his own career as an artist and filmmaker. Lastly, this film has a plot twist, which I won't spoil, but it's a twist that plays into the themes of the film really nicely, those being around the authenticity of art and what gives art value. I don't want to say too much else about this film because it's worth going into this film knowing as little as possible, but it's a film which I think will change your perspective on what a documentary can be. F for Fake is available to stream on HBO Max. The fourth documentary I'm going to recommend is the 1989 documentary For All Mankind, directed by Al Reinert. For All Mankind is a documentary about the Apollo moon missions. The film consists of 16mm footage captured during the Apollo missions, most of which are shot by astronauts during their journeys, with the footage spanning from Apollo 7 through Apollo 17. Narrating the 16mm footage are the astronauts who were actually on the Apollo missions, their narration taken from interviews Rana conducted with them. This film was also scored by Brian Eno, and the score is incredibly atmospheric and a perfect fit for the film. Overall, For All Mankind is my favorite documentary about space, and one of my favorite space films in general. The film is very informative, given that you get to hear from the astronauts firsthand about their experience. A lot of the film's footage is also just breathtaking and illuminating as to how these emissions actually went down. I don't have much else to say, but this film is just overall great and definitely worth a watch. For All Mankind is available to stream on HBO Max. The fifth and final film I'm going to recommend is Grey Gardens, a 1975 documentary directed by David Maysles, Albert Maysles, Ellen Hofte, and Muffy Meyer. This film is about Edith Ewing Bouvier Beale, also known as Big Edie, and Edith Bouvier Beale, also known as Little Edie. Big Edie and Little Edie are mother and daughter, as well as being relatives to Jackie Kennedy Onassis. The film follows the two as they live their day-to-day life on their rundown estate in East Hampton, known as the Grey Gardens Estate. The film is mainly observational in nature, with all of the footage being somewhat informal, just the two women being filmed living their life, and occasionally being asked questions by the Maysles brothers behind the camera. Throughout the film, you get to know each of the women, especially the daughter Little Edie. You also get a glimpse into the mother-daughter relationship, which can oftentimes be quite sad, but the interactions between Big and Little Edie can also lead to humorous situations. Both women are quite eccentric, and it's hard to look away from the screen once you start watching because of this. Overall, this film is one of my favorite observational documentaries. I don't have much else to say about it, but it's best to go in somewhat blind anyway. Grey Gardens is available to stream for free on YouTube. And that's all my recommendations. I recommend you check out all of these films if possible. That's all. Thank you for watching. Bye.